And we are back. We got NBA playoffs getting going. We had a couple of play-in games. 2-0, John, to start off the play-in. MLB a little shaky. We'll get into all of that. But how's the week treating you?
NBA's been treating me terrific. As you said, another great NBA season, and we continue right along into the play-ins and into the playoffs. Nobody does it better than NBA. MLB, rough start to say the least. It's just been brutal, to the point that I have sent out a message to our How to Beat the Bookie members. Normal betting range for me, Major League Baseball, is 3 and 5%. It's a 3% bet if it's a like bet, 5% if it's a love bet. This is the second year that Major League Baseball, the dogs have been off to a horrific. Not bad, not horrific start. All-time worst starts. We're talking about the last 2 years have been the worst 2 years on record for dogs. That's enough of a trend for me to say, let's take it back a notch. So from this point on, we sent out the message. Our like bet will now be a 2% of your bankroll bet, with the love bet being a 4% of your bankroll bet. Just yesterday, one more time, Oakland A's plus 205 and got walked off on by the Orioles. It's just, again, it's just not happening for the dogs. We'll get there. I'm right back with dogs today. So let me explain also why. Because our you guys that have been following the show, whether it's YouTube, if you follow me on Instagram, or if you're a How to Beat the Bookie member, you know all I preach is value, value, value. We're not getting the same value in Major League Baseball as we are in NBA. And that's for a few reasons. So let's go into them. During the basketball season, especially at the end, we were using DraftKings literally as a piggy bank. We were stealing their money. They're opening the next day's lines, their overnight lines, at noon Eastern. I'm ready at noon Eastern. I'm ready a day ahead of time. Again, obviously it wasn't the norm, but we had one game, Magic against Cavs, that moved 14 points overnight on the line. We were constantly getting 2 and 3 points better than number, 2 and 3 points better than number. You can't help but win money. The opposite is in effect in Major League Baseball. Because DraftKings uses what's known as a 20-cent line, once they open, we can't get that value there. You got to remember, I'm betting into a 10-cent line. So they've already got 5 cents extra built in on each side, whether it's the favorite or the dog. Not only that, the line makers have sharpened up in years. They're just not that juicy value for the dogs. And when there is, that number is taken immediately. Case in point would be today. Atlanta Braves are at Kansas City Royals today. The overnight line on this was Braves minus 154, take back 142 with KC. I would take plus 142 with KC. That number wasn't available for spots that I went into. Again, at that number. And our first numbers that I can get out to you guys is more like plus 126, 127. And now the game is down to plus 122 or even lower, right? Where does it now, Ben? Ben's actually working the
yeah, it's as low now as plus 115 at some spots.
So the value number at plus 142, the number to rob was the overnight line. Again, where DraftKings is coming up with a 20-cent line just makes it harder. So
for your point on the DraftKings 20-cent line, KC right now is plus 115, bet online plus 110 at DraftKings. So
right, it's basically, like I said, they go 5 cents above with the favorite, 5 cents below with the dog, and then obviously as the number goes higher, the spread gets higher. This is a game of pennies. Baseball on the field is called a game of inches. Betting it is a game of pennies. It's getting those additional pennies. Those pennies are what's going to add up at the end of the year, and that's going to be your profit. So again, like I said, I would have loved KC at plus 142. I'm not on them at plus 112 or 115 where the game is now. We'll try to remedy this if there's some spots overnight. Look, when there's enough spots overnight, I can give you a bet. For me, sending out a bet to guys that can't possibly get down, that wouldn't be giving you the service. When DraftKings is opening a day ahead of time and 20 some odd states has DraftKings in it, you have access to a DraftKings account. Then I can give out that line with a clear conscience that, hey, if you got it, go make that bet. If you don't, I'm sorry. But I don't want to send out numbers that are unreachable for 90% of the public. So we'll be working on that constantly. But for the time being, we're going to drop our like bets down to 2%, our love bet down to 4%. And right now it's NBA playoff time. We'll get more into that, Ben. What I did also want to say was, look, we're always adjusting. As I said, the new rules put in baseball this year have affected the game. There's no question about it. So we're seeing a 1.4 run per game more. We're seeing teams batting 20 points higher from, I believe it's 230 to 250. These are tremendous changes. Again, obviously, they go into our stats. We'll get on. Look, we're going to get on that baseball hot streak. We're going to have our run of dogs. Just a matter of time. Now, we had a couple of guys send me messages last night. Sure, you had the A's, but you didn't have the Tigers or the Pirates. Yeah, I did. No reason to bet that. I've said this a million times. Never want to drop the catching knife. Okay, I want to be there for the bounce back. Tigers had lost 6 straight. Pitching matchup wasn't there. There was just no reason to. The one little reason that you could have liked Detroit was Toronto has the big game against Tampa today. Tampa coming in looking for the all-time record, 14-0. Just wasn't enough for me for a Detroit team that's just been terrible, absolutely terrible. Like I said, losing 6 in a row before last night. The A's were in a little bit of a different situation. I mean, that's why it was a half bet. They had scored 8 runs in each of the prior 2 games. Orioles pitcher Irvin, he's been so bad. This was their big off-season acquisition. They're sending him down, I believe, after yesterday's performance. So when you're scoring and you're going up against a terrible pitcher and you're still plus 205, I'll take a shot with that, dog. Didn't see those things available. As far as Pirates, Vasquez, I believe I can hit Vasquez. Don't know where he came up with shutout baseball against the Cardinals yesterday. Yep. This is gambling. We bet when we feel we have an edge. Those numbers both moved higher during the course of the day yesterday. When there's an edge, that's when we'll bet. We don't just bet every dog, okay? We bet dogs where we feel we have an edge. So far today, I've made 2 bets on 2 dogs. I'll tell you who they are. I'm going to give you all my bets today, not only for baseball, but for my NBA for the entire weekend of the first round. So keep watching the show, guys.
Yeah, kudos to you guys who have been tuning in, watching the full show. You guys will get all the bets. Like John was saying, though, about MLB being a slow start. And it's not even just, it has been severe these last 2 years. But, if you look at those numbers over the last 10 years, it has slowly increased year by year, getting worse and worse and worse, specifically for this time of year, April, May, as far as these underdogs and their production and their value. But like last year, after mid-May is when things turned around in MLB and tore it up the rest of the season. And so we'll find that patch. We'll get the adjustments based on the rule changes. And once we get on a groove, it'll be that way for the rest of the MLB season. So as far as the how to beat the bookie members watching, hang tight. We'll get there. It'll be a profitable season. And until then, we're still killing NBA. So like John said, manage your bankroll, adjust accordingly as far as NBA and MLB, and it will be there. And NBA is still killing it. 2-0 in the play-in game, John. We can touch on that before we do a quick dive on the MLB slate. 2-0 with OKC going in, winning outright against New Orleans, and they have Chicago. They go down, I believe, as much as 19 in that game. And they came all the way back, get the win in that one as well. A little help of DeRozan's daughter. So hopefully we keep it hot in the NBA playoffs.
We could use DeRozan's daughter in Miami tonight because we can worry about it. Actually, we'll do the basketball first. But no, he says he's sending her back because she's got to go to school. But, DeRozan's daughter led the 19-point comeback. We had two dogs, won them both outright the other day with the play-in. If you guys saw I was on Mike Lombardi's Lombardi Line show. We gave out the games in that game. Again, I gave out actually the whole card, so that's why I'll give it out on our own YouTube podcast today. But yeah, we're going to go right back. We're coming right back with the Bulls today. 5.5-point dogs at Miami Heat. Miami's been just a total nightmare. What a disappointment after having the best record in the East. It wasn't the Celtics last year, guys. If you remember, Miami Heat were the #1 seed in the East last year. I guess it was nobody wanted it at that time. Celtics or Bucks, nobody wanted to match up with the Nets, the scary Nets that have disintegrated since that time. But the Heat had the best record, losing 7 games in Eastern Conference Final to the Celtics. Just a different team. Everybody waiting to see playoff Jimmy. And he goes 6 for 19 in the opening game against the Hawks, a team that they had absolutely owned in Miami. They haven't been good all year. They're the second worst team at home against the spread. Only the Mavericks were worse. Bulls have won 9 of their last 11 on the road. Give me a read. The Bulls won all 3 meetings this year. The 2 in Miami by 18 points and 1 at home by 14. What's the reason for the Heat to be the favorite, 5.5? Look, I get it. They've been home and off for 2 days while Chicago had a win up in Toronto and come down to Miami. Even with that, can't make this game 5.5. I like the Bulls.
Yeah, John, I think you're forgetting a key thing here. Patrick Beverley is the best play-in player of all time, so you got that going for Chicago as well.
Right.
But these play-in games, they've all been around the same number, 5, 5.5, 6. It's bottom, it's that mid-tier. They're not quite the worst teams in the NBA, but they're not true playoff teams. There's not going to be massive discrepancies, and we've seen it already. Dogs, 3-1 straight up, 4-0 against the spread in these play-in games. You have this Miami team who is last in the NBA in scoring points, second worst home team against the spread. Have a really, really hard time seeing them covering this game at 1-5. Sure, maybe they can win this game in a tight one, but I think it's going to be a tight one. Bulls showed a lot of fight in the last game. I think we're going to see that continue here on into Miami.
Yeah, it's Bull. Like I said, I jumped on this game right away. Just throwing an added thing. We talked about Jimmy Butler going 6 for 19 in the opening game. He missed practice. Now, they said it's for personal reasons, but he missed practice yesterday. When the best player on your team misses practice, I don't know why one of my lights went off here. The best player on your team misses practice and the day before the biggest game of the season, a do-or-die game. It's just not a good thing. So whether it's personal, I don't know what personal it could be, but he wasn't at practice yesterday. Like I said, Bulls plus 5.5. I'm all over this one.
Next one, we have Thunder at Minnesota. You had this OKC team who got it done with the cover. Josh Giddey nearly came up with a 30-point triple-double in that game against New Orleans. Then you have this Minnesota team coming off a tough loss to the Lakers, up double digits. Should have had that one in the bag. Lakers rallied back. Granted, they were shorthanded in that game. They do get Gobert back today. I just can't back this Minnesota team. All the sideline issues, everything else going on. A lot of off-the-court drama, which I don't think goes well in this point in the season. OKC, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. You have, as far as Minnesota, last game against the Lakers, Anthony Edwards, where was he? Just an absolute no-show from Anthony Edwards. Can't have that when Rudy Gobert's not on the floor. We'll see if he bounces back. I don't like the Rudy Gobert situation of not playing. I think that just messes everything up for a team who hasn't had, a solid roster all season long. Cat out all season long, gets back. They're starting to get that chemistry going. You had injuries early. OKC or nobody. Talked about it already. These dogs have been doing damage. A lot of points, a lot of feistiness. Don't like the momentum here for Minnesota going into an elimination game.
Yeah, I can make a case for this game either way, and that's probably why I'll be staying off this game. Thunder. The road team, first of all, is 11-1-1 against the spread. The last 13 meetings between these two teams. Minnesota, they've lost 7 of their last 9 home games. And while they've won 7 of the last 8 meetings between these teams, it's just 5-3 against the spread. But Thunder have covered 3 of the 4 at Minnesota. Minnesota, as Ben said, You get this whole Gobert thing. And they're actually listing him questionable today. He's had a bad back going towards the end of the season, and was listed questionable almost every day. So I don't know, is it the back, or do they plan on playing without him anyway? We'll see. Look, this is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. When he's on the court, I mean, he just makes the team better defensively. But early in the season, that just didn't work with him and Cat there. Cat's back. As Ben said, Edwards had a stinker the other day, but they almost went to LA and beat the Lakers. I mean, that game was theirs for the taking. So we'll see what happens with them. One other tidbit, Scott Foster's the referee tonight. Scott Foster, home teams, 38-20 against the spread. Also, over has covered 37 of, 37 of the 58 games that Scott Foster's been the official at. I'm 5 on this game. That's my number. Game is up a little bit higher than that at 5.5. Just no dog in this fight. I got better spots. Like I says, I like the Bulls, and then I got a couple more for Saturday and Sunday, Ben.
Yeah, it could be an opportunity to get OKC in the second half. Minnesota all year, bottom 5 second half team. We saw it last year in the playoffs against Memphis. They had a bunch of big leads. It has crumpled in the second half. We saw it against the Lakers the other night. And OKC, they're a gritty team. They're actually up there in the top 8 as far as second half margin. So could be a spot there. Maybe get a better live line depending on how things shape up tonight.
Could be a good spot. And just really tough for OKC. This is a young squad. Real tough for them to get a second win on the road in this play-in. The great against the spread on the road. Like I said, Minnesota terrible at home. The road team owns the series against the spread. Just going to be a tough game for a very immature, very young OKC team to get that second win in a row. But again, wouldn't be shocked if they won it outright. Wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota won by double digits. 5's my number on the game. I'll leave it at that.
All right, John, we have a lot of baseball games going on today, so we can go a little bit of insight here into baseball, kind of quick preview for you guys, 15 games, every team.
I do want to do that, but before I do that, I want to touch base real quick on each of the NBA games and get that going. I'll make it real quick, guys. Brooklyn at Philadelphia. Philly swept all 4 games this year. Brooklyn Nets, there's no more KD, there's no more Kyrie. This is Mikal Bridges, who's done a phenomenal job since coming over since Phoenix, and a lot of good ball players, but not that bona fide star. Bridges is trying to get himself there. I don't even see this as being a series. If it's not a sweep, I see it in 5. Harden and Embiid, just too much. Just get to the line too much. My number on game 1 is 8. That game's sitting at 8.5. I got no one in that one, Ben.
Yeah, lean to Brooklyn in this game. I agree with you. I think 76ers will take care of business in the series. Just don't trust the 76ers to have an easy first round. I don't think we've seen that in recent years. They've had a lot of tough fights. We saw last year against Toronto. Brooklyn team, a little bit scrappy. It's just a lot of points for a playoff game. So while they're still not out of the series, wouldn't be surprised if they were to keep this one close. I do think 76ers win this game in 5. Maybe they pull out the sweep. I just think this game 1 here specifically is going to be a little bit tighter. Brooklyn, I know it's not the same we've seen with KD, Kyrie era, but still over the last couple of years, we've seen them to have even more success on the road. So lean to the Nets in this game. Not one of my favorite first-round bets, though.
Yeah, Philly's rested all their starters the last couple of games. They'll be fresh. I think 8's a fair number. Hawks, Boston, I make this 1-9, and then that's what the number is. Playoff time is tough, guys. These numbers are solid. So when I see a bet, you got to make these bets. Hawks come off a big win, go to Miami, win at a place that they haven't won. They'd lost 7 straight going in there. So now they'll go to Boston. Let me get my stats up here. Boston Seas have won and covered the last 5 meetings with Atlanta, including all 3 this year by a combined 40 points, and have won 8 of the last 9 meetings in Boston. Just 5-4 against the number, though. Could I see the Hawks backdoor in this one? Sure can. But Boston looks like they had righted their ship. They were the best team in the beginning part of the season. That was before Milwaukee started playing well, before they got Middleton back. I had Boston regardless of what start Denver and Memphis were on early part of the year, Boston was the best team. They hit a little spell around the middle of the year. Looks like they've righted their ship. Looks like they did it on that last West Coast trip towards the end of that. And as they came back home, they've won 8 of their last 10. I got Boston as a 9-point favorite. That's what they are, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, this is a game I lean a little bit to the over, and I really don't like playoff overs. You have the Celtics team up there top in scoring. I got to see what the Celtics team looks like in the playoffs. Last year, they were all defense, 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 defense. A little bit of a different look this year under new head coach. Not quite as defensive oriented. So interested to see how that carries over coming this time of year, because every team is going to take it up a notch defensively. Regular season defense, we don't see it too much in the NBA. So interested to see what we get from Boston out of that. Not just for this series alone, but just as a playoff read. How good can their defense be? How close can they get to what they were last year? As far as the matchup and this price, I agree with John. It's a pretty good number, a pretty fair number. I would lean to the Celtics in this game, but how to lay a number. This is a bigger favorite, but I just think Atlanta coming off the play-in, you have Boston coming in well-rested. Statement game here coming from the Celtics in game 1.
Knicks, Cavs. Just was no reason for me not to bet the Knicks in this one. Second best record on the road against the spread. Knicks got it done pretty much all season. They got Brunson some rest the last couple of days. The question mark here is Randall. Does Randall come back and play? He's questionable to come back. I made this line without Randall. Without Randall, I could not make it 6 points. Cavs, as you know, led the league in fewest points allowed. I expect a low-scoring game. 6 points is a lot of points in a game that's going to be in those low 100s. Cavs, real good at home, 31-10 straight up, 24-16-1 against the spread. But Knicks, like I said, they got it done on the road. Knicks, third in holding opponents in field goal percentage. And as I mentioned, Cavs were first, fewest points allowed. So I'm looking for a defensive game. Would love to have Brunson, but even without him, I took 6 points. That game's down to 5.5 at most spots now. I like the Knicks.
Yeah, it's this series read. I'm pretty high on Cleveland, but I agree with John. The first game here, pretty big number. Game 1s, I typically lean to the dog a bit more. They're still in the fight. And this Cleveland team, the one thing I will say, like John mentioned, they topped there in points allowed. What we see last year, the top 2 teams as far as points allowed, those are the 2 teams that reached the finals. So defense means a lot. Regular season, Cleveland's one of the few teams playing true hard defense. They have the size. They're one of these teams. I think they have a better chance of matching up against Milwaukee or Boston, leaving on later in the playoffs than Philly does. So interested to see this Cavs team. They could be a dark horse in the East just with that defense alone. Got to see what's going on with Randall. But with that, they don't score that much either. So slightly into Cavs in game 1 here. Don't love it. It is a big price. Interested to see how they look on a series read as well, though.
And for you total guys, they played 4 games this year. They averaged 214, and the total is 214.5. So real tight on that total there. That's what we expect. Low-scoring game. Mm-hmm. Give me the plus the 6 points, half a dozen points, and a low-scoring game. Knicks actually took 3 or 4 meetings this year. That's why I'm on them. The next one, Golden State, Sacramento. Well documented that how terrible Golden State's been on the road all year. They had the worst road record of any playoff team. So just terrible. Sacramento, not great at home. They were fantastic on the road, Sacramento, but didn't get the job done at home. Again, Sacramento, Golden State, not a real road game for Golden State. It's right down the highway. They've owned this team. Sacramento's been the little brother for years now. 8 of the last 9 meetings they beat them. Well, they haven't covered them. I believe it's 4-5 against the spread. They've won 8 of the last 9. Not much of a spread here. We took 1 in this game. It's basically 1 or pick either way right now. Golden State's ready. I think Golden State has turned the switch, and we saw that towards the end of the season. Getting better, getting better, getting better. Yes, they played a Portland team that had 5 guys from LA Fitness out there, but they put on 55 points in the first quarter, $157 for the game. They're getting Wiggins back. Look, these are the top 2 scoring teams in the NBA. Sacramento with the most points, Golden State next. But Sac gave up a lot of points. Golden State will play enough D. Golden State will score. Experience-wise, well, you've only got Steph, Dre, Clay, 4-time champions. going against a team that hasn't been to the playoff in 16 years. Give me Golden State. This one's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Warriors, what is it, 6 of the last 8 years they've taken a trip to the finals. So it's Golden State or nobody, absolutely. Experience edge is massive in this one. I think Golden State will steal game 1. To me, this is one of those series I think it'll be not easy, but you'll get great spots. If Golden State does take game 1, it's a great do-or-die spot for Sacramento in game 2. So I'm hoping it pays off that way. I'm hoping that line reflects a little bit of an adjustment in it. And this Warriors team, with getting Wiggins back, like John mentioned, that's so big for them defensively. And they had a similar kind of thing with Steph Curry last year. When Steph Curry had the injury down the stretch of the season, started working him into the playoffs, game 1 and 2 against Denver, coming off the bench, 20-25 minutes. Steve Kerr, this whole team, they know how to handle this time of year. Across the league, most experience. And I don't want to say it was necessarily a finals hangover this year, but there's a team that doesn't care too much about the regular season anymore. We heard Draymond Green talking about it all fall. Who cares when you're winning games November, December, January? These games don't matter. And that's kind of their mantra as a team. So like you said, in that last game, took a step. I think they're going to make a statement here to this Youngins and the Kings team. I like Sacramento. It's just a whole different ball game in this time of year in the NBA.
Regular season and NBA, two different animals. Look for Golden State in that one. Those were the 4 games on Saturday. So 2 bets for you guys. Knicks +6, Warriors +1. As far as Sunday, 2 games are yet to be determined. So Milwaukee awaits the winner of the Heat Bulls game, and Denver, these are the 2 number 1 seeds, awaits the winner of the OKC Minnesota game. So we'll get to those games at a different time. My third bet for the weekend, Lakers +3.5. Grizzlies for what they reward is for getting the number 2 seed is the hottest team in the West. The Lakers have the best record in the West. Only one team, only the Bucks have a better record since the All-Star break. Lakers won the trade deadline since then. They just put it all together. LeBron's come back from the injury, and so far it's a perfect match. A stinker of a game against the Timberwolves in the 7-8 play-in. Main reason, D'Angelo Russell goes 1 for 9. He needs to hit, especially from the outside, to open up that middle for LeBron and for AD, obviously. A great matchup. AD Jackson Jr. down low. That's going to be a war down low. We'll see what Brooks can do with his D. Memphis, the best home record in the NBA this year, and that's why I think this is a little bit of an overlay. It's what's happening now. Go back, guys. I believe it's January 20th. Memphis goes out to L.A. Memphis is the hottest team in the NBA at that time. 11 straight wins. They get into it on the sideline with Shannon Sharp, okay? They lose that game to the Lakers. Record since that point is just 20-18. They lost 2 big guys, Adams and Clark. Not 20-point scorers, but just guys that get the job done. Adams, who does the dirty work. Clark comes off the bench. 20-18 since that game. Lakers are the hottest team. They'll go in there, like I said. So your reward for being the second best record in the West is to get the hottest team. This series, I like the Lakers in this series also. I feel the Lakers will steal 1 of 2 in Memphis, and the Grizzlies can't win on the road. For the best record at home, they just could not get it done on the road. Like the Lakers in the spot, I took 3.5 in game 1.
Yeah, this game 1 reads really difficult for me to get my head around. I lean to the Lakers, and I do think it's a lot of points. I do wonder there's a little bit of a letdown after an overtime play and win. I mean, obviously they have plenty of days off, so it's not a fatigue thing, just a little bit more of a letdown situation. But I will say, as far as this Memphis team coming in, I mean, there's a lot of issues, like John mentioned. You do have the Lakers coming in as the hottest team. And that game against Minnesota impressed me. They played horrible, but they won the game. You're not going to be able to play your best game every night. The Lakers, first half of the season, if they're playing that bad in the first 3 quarters, they're not coming back and winning that game against Minnesota. But different culture to be able to build past that and get through it and come away with the win in a game they did not play well. So winning bad games to me is an impressive thing. That showed the culture shift a little bit there for the Lakers. And they're definitely coming in a little bit on a mission. So as long as Anthony Davis is healthy, I agree with you. Lakers series read, and guaranteed whoever loses game 1 back in game 2 in this situation. Because I agree with you. I think Lakers will steal one of these two games at Memphis. If they steal game one, we're definitely going to see Memphis in that do or die spot at home. So this is going to be whoever loses game one, I'm on in game two. A little bit iffy on game one, though. I lean to the Lakers.
I'm just checking out some stuff. So the fourth and final game Sunday, and the final game of the first round, Clippers at Phoenix. Clippers had a chance. Clippers played at Phoenix the last game of the regular season. By beating them, by actually beating their subs, because Phoenix sat all their regulars, all their stars the last two games of the season. By beating them, they get the 5th seed, and that gives you the best team, in my opinion, the best team right now in the West. That's the Phoenix Suns. They haven't lost yet with KD on the court. They lost the last two games, but like I said, they rested all their stars. They'll be fresh, just what those guys needed. You got some guys long in the tooth there with Chris Paul. So these guys are coming rested. They've been home since the last game of the season. Clippers, no Paul George. If there's Paul George there, maybe they give them a little tough bit of a series. For how to beat the bookie members, for you guys that aren't, it's ratings, guys. Nobody's got better ratings than me. If you're listening to me now and you're a member, go to this website or go to the app, check the ratings. So I've got Clippers rated 34.8 on the road. I've got Phoenix rated 42.0 at home. That's 7.2. Go look anywhere in the world. The game is 7 or 7.5, kind of 7.2. You can't get more in the middle than that. That's what the numbers should be. And that's what the game is. Like I said, 4 meetings this year, each team winning twice on the other team's home court. But one of those games, Phoenix rested everybody. It was the last game of the season. 7 is what I make the game. Nobody in this one. But as far as the series, I just see in the West, I see it. I see Golden State. I see just catching some info as it goes by. I see Golden State. I don't see whoever the 8th seed's going to beat Denver. Although not crazy about Denver. I think they'll be the worst of the top 4 teams for the second round. I see the Lakers upsetting Memphis, and I don't see Phoenix having any kind of problem with the Clippers to move on. That's how I see that first round of basketball, guys. So I gave you 3 NBA bets this weekend, and that's Knicks +6. It's Warriors +1. It's Lakers +3.5.
Yeah, just as a whole in the playoffs, as a read, and I think you kind of alluded it to, I think it's still the vets league in the NBA. I think people forget that a little bit in the regular season because once they've been around the dance, they take the regular season a little bit more lightly. But I agree with you. Phoenix, Golden State, LA, those are the 3 threats in the West, all the veteran teams. Memphis, Sacramento, even Denver to an extent, a little bit younger, not as high on. And even in the East, same situation. Milwaukee, oldest team in the NBA. I still think they're going to get it done. I think they're coming out of the East. Philly, a little bit something there, not much. Boston, they have the experience as well, coming off the final strip. I think they're the main threat to Milwaukee. We'll see if we get that matchup.
It's a stars league. Always has been, always will be. If LeBron's going to the hole on a game-winning drive and Jackson and him meet at the rim, do you think it's going to be a block or a charge? Chances are LeBron's going to get that call. These are the things I'll look for going down the stretch. Look, Lakers have been there. LeBron has been there. Seemingly every year you look up in the championship, and he's there outside these last couple of years. But, Memphis, again, they'll have their work cut out for them. Could they win it? Sure. I just think the Lakers are in a good spot. The way they've been playing, as I said, it's almost fate. Like last year, we saw fate. Steph Curry goes down in a game against the Celtics with a month or so left to the season. He misses the last month. It allows Jordan Poole to excel of filling in for Steph. It allows Steph to rest some weary old legs. Steph comes out in the championship after running through the playoffs. He's the championship MVP, and Golden State beats Boston, the team that against he got hurt. Here you got the Lakers, like I said. Grizzlies go out to LA. They're the hottest team in NBA. Win 11 straight. Get into a stupid thing with Shannon Sharp. I didn't even know he was on the Lakers. and then go 20-18. Then you obviously look. You had your nonsense with John Morant, all these other outside distractions, and so you've got Memphis here and Lakers here since the trade deadline. Two teams going in different directions, and that's why I go with the Lakers in this one. That's the basketball, Ben. We got a whole thing of baseball. Can we get to this now?
Yeah, let's dive in. Big baseball card. Baseball's been a little tough. I do think there's a few spots here today that are pretty interesting. First game on the card, Giants at Detroit. Sean Manaea on the bump there for San Francisco. He's a pitcher I'm just kind of looking to go against. He is coming off a good start, but against the worst hitting team in the MLB, the Kansas City Royals, held them to 1 run in 6 innings pitched. And then 1 start against Detroit last year. He gave up 9 runs, 8 hits, and 3 1/3. As far as Detroit, you have Wentz going. He's been horrible. Gave up 5 runs off 1 hit, 4 walks, and 1 2/3 his last start. So 2 pitchers a little bit struggling. Manaea coming off of a good start, but against Kansas City. Value sides here with Detroit. Don't like it as much at this number. We need a bit more there to get my money on Wentz, but no way am I backing Manaea. Excuse me. Manaea as a road favorite.
I agree with you, but I don't want no part of Detroit. Didn't want no part of them last night. Don't want no part of them coming off their first win, breaking a 6-game losing streak. Not interested in Detroit. Wentz, we went on him his last time out. 4 walks and an inning and 2/3. Just you got to throw strikes. That's what this whole game is about, especially with the new rules. You could turn walks into doubles. Stolen base is another thing we didn't mention. Stolen bases way up also, and stolen base getting thrown out on a stolen base is down. So stolen bases, hitting, runs scored, offense all way up. No part of Detroit. Next game, Philly at Cincy. Philly just definitely what we call the World Series hangover. But on top of that, losing 2 of their top hitters. Obviously, Bryce Harper, and then Hoskins goes down just before the season starts. Philly's feeling the blunt of it. They've got 2 pitches that have got to be aces, Wheeler and Nola, and as of yet, they haven't been. Today, they'll go with Walker, who they got over from the Mets. Hasn't been anything great for them. Saw the Reds his last time out. What does he go? 4 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. You gotta get me at least 5 innings to be a pitcher. Come on. Overton's just been smashed though. But he'll be pitching for Cincy. Cincy, I like Cincy. You guys know we had them against the Braves. They fought the Braves, and I got guys. Why don't you bet the run line? Easy to say. The Reds lost 3 one-run games getting swept by the Braves. I'm looking for the value, the 200s in those prices, but they fought them tough. They smashed Philly yesterday. As a dog, could only want them today, but I just can't. Now with this kid over, and he's been hit pretty hard his first 2 times out this year, Ben.
Yeah, this is the biggest total on the card, sitting at 10, I think for a good reason. Overton has been horrible, but he's gotten a shitload of run support. I think it's 23 runs the Reds have put up in his 2 starts. They won both those games despite him giving up 9 runs in 8 innings, and he's coming off a start giving up 4 in 4 innings at Philly. Lean to the over in this game, lean to Cincy. You got to lean to the dog in a high-scoring game. Walker hasn't been anything special yet in his first 2 starts coming over from the Mets. We'll see if he finds a groove. He had a little bit of a shaky start last year. He got more rhythm as the season went on. Slight pitching edge to Philly here. They're just not doing as much with the bat. So lean to the home dog in Cincinnati and lean to the over in this game.
This next game is one of my 2 bets. Took Diamondbacks plus 143. Diamondbacks are playing some good baseball. Just wrapped up a 5-2 homestand, winning 5 of the last 6, scoring 6.7 runs per game. They beat the Brewers and the Dodgers in this homestand. They're not beating up on the Tigers and the A's. So they beat some real good teams. They started the season at Dodgers and San Diego. So tough schedule that they've played so far, playing good baseball. A little bit different for the Marlins. They come back from a 3-3 road trip, which is a win for them, scoring 5.3 runs per game, which is much more than their average. But they've been playing the Mets, who the Mets are 28th in hitting, batting .218, I believe. 5 of 6. Diamondbacks won 5 of 6 meetings last year, all 3 at Miami. Baumgartner is Baumgartner. Look, he's had 2 outings, both against the Dodgers. We know the Dodgers, look, even without Trey Turner there, it's still looks a solid team. They lead the majors in home runs. So Baumgartner, not so great in those 2 games, but Rogers has been nothing special for Miami. Give me 2 garbage pitches. Give me a big price, and I'm going to take the team that I expect to score more runs. Miami was horrible before these last few games, and that was against the Philly pitching staff that leaves a lot to be desired, that they scored some runs in. So I took D-backs plus 143 in this one, Ben.
Yeah, Marlins being a 160 favorite. I think they've improved from last year. They don't deserve to be a 160 favorite over most teams in the league, no matter the pitching matchup. Maybe
if you're not the Tigers, the Nationals, or A's, no, I can't see them as a 160 favorite team over an Arizona team that I've got. Arizona's going to be a 500 team this year.
No. Yep, I agree with you completely. So it's tough there to pull the trigger on that Miami team. We'd definitely be Arizona or nobody. We'll